The wife kisses her husband goodbye in a coma. Then he grabs her arm. What would you do if the person you thought you knew best turned out to be a complete stranger? Sometimes the truth hides behind closed eyes, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. Before we continue, let us know in the comment section, what time is it and where are you watching from? And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now, let us continue. The sterile white walls of St. Mary's Hospital had become Elena's second home over the past 6 months. Every day, she walked through those automatic doors, past the reception desk where nurses offered sympathetic smiles, and down the long corridor to room 407. Every day, she sat beside the bed where her husband Marcus lay motionless, his chest rising and falling with mechanical precision, kept alive by machines that beeped and hummed their monotonous symphony. Marcus Thornfield. The name alone commanded respect in the business world. At 42, he had built an empire from nothing, transforming a small tech startup into Thornfield Industries, a multinational corporation worth billions. He was brilliant, ruthless in negotiations, and, to the outside world, untouchable. But to Elena, he had been something different. He had been her husband for 8 years, the man who brought her coffee in bed on Sunday mornings, who laughed at her terrible jokes, who held her during thunderstorms because he knew they frightened her. Or at least, that's the man she thought she knew. The accident had happened on a rainy Tuesday evening. Marcus had been driving home from the office when his car collided with a truck on the highway. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. Brain trauma, they explained, a coma with no clear timeline for recovery. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and Elena watched helplessly as her husband remained trapped in silent darkness. Today felt different. Elena could not explain why, but as she entered the hospital room, a strange heaviness settled in her chest. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Marcus's face, highlighting the sharp angles that had softened during his months of stillness. His dark hair had grown longer, falling across his forehead in a way that made him look younger, more vulnerable. Dr. Harrison had pulled her aside that morning with news that shattered what little hope she had been clinging to. The scans showed no improvement. In fact, they suggested that Marcus might never wake up. The kind doctor, with his graying beard and gentle eyes, had recommended considering long-term care facilities. He had used careful words, diplomatic phrases, but Elena understood what he was really saying. It was time to let go. She had nodded, signed the papers he placed before her, and asked for one final moment alone with her husband. Just one more goodbye. Now, standing beside his bed, Elena felt the weight of 8 years pressing down on her shoulders, 8 years of marriage, of shared dreams and whispered promises. She remembered their wedding day, how Marcus had looked at her like she was the only person in the world. She remembered their honeymoon in Paris, walking hand in hand along the Seine. She remembered 1,000 small moments that had seemed insignificant at the time, but now felt precious beyond measure. "I do not know if you can hear me," Elena whispered, reaching out to take his hand. His skin was warm, his fingers limp in her grasp. "But I need you to know that I really tried to hold on. The doctors say it is time. They say you are not coming back." Her voice cracked, and tears spilled down her cheeks. She had cried so many times in this room, but she thought she had no tears left. But grief had a way of proving her wrong. "I am so Angry at you, Marcus. Angry that you were working late that night. Angry that you didn't see that truck. Angry that you left me alone in this world." She paused, wiping her eyes with her free hand. "But I am also grateful. Grateful for the time we had. Grateful for the love you gave me. I will carry you with me always." Elena leaned forward, pressing her lips gently against his forehead. Then she moved lower, placing a final, tender kiss on his lips. It was a goodbye kiss, soft and lingering, filled with all the love and sorrow her heart could hold. "I love you," she whispered against his mouth. "I will always love you." She started to pull away, to let go of his hand for the last time, but then something impossible happened. His fingers tightened around hers. Elena froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. She stared down at their joined hands, certain she had imagined it, but then it happened again. A definite squeeze, stronger this time, and then his other hand shot up with surprising speed, gripping her wrist with enough force to make her gasp. "Marcus?" Her name came out as barely a breath. His eyes snapped open, not slowly, not with the confused flutter of someone waking from a long sleep, but all at once, with an alertness that sent chills racing down her spine. Those eyes that she knew so well, that warm brown that had gazed at her with love for years, now held something different, something cold and calculating. "Elena, we need to talk," he said, his voice rough from months of disuse, but strong, too strong for someone who just emerged from a coma. Before she could respond, before she could even process what was happening, he sat up. The movement was fluid, controlled, nothing like the weak attempts she had imagined he might make if he ever woke up. He pulled the IV from his arm without flinching and swung his legs over the side of the bed. "Marcus, wait! Stop! You need to lie down. I'll get the doctor. You cannot just—" "I am fine," he interrupted, standing up with only the slightest wobble. He steadied himself against the bed rail, his grip on her wrist never loosening. Better than fine, actually. 6 months of forced rest does wonders for the body. Elena stared at him, her mind struggling to catch up with reality. This was not how coma recoveries worked. Patients didn't just wake up and start walking. They needed physical therapy, time to relearn basic functions. They certainly didn't speak in complete sentences with perfect clarity.
"I do not understand," she stammered. "The doctors said you might never wake up. They said your brain—" "The doctors said what I paid them to say." Marcus released her wrist and walked to the window, moving with the confidence of someone who had been awake and active the entire time. He pushed aside the curtain, looking down at the parking lot below. Quite a substantial amount, actually, but money well spent. The room seemed to tilt around Elena. She reached for the chair behind her, gripping its back for support. "What are you saying? You paid the doctors to lie? Why would you do that?" Marcus turned to face her, and in the harsh light filtering through the window, she saw a stranger wearing her husband's face. The warmth she had always associated with him was gone, replaced with something sharp and predatory. "Because I needed to know the truth," he said simply, "about you, about everyone around me. You cannot imagine how illuminating it has been lying in that bed, listening while people thought I could not hear them. The things people say when they think no one is listening, the secrets they reveal, the lies they tell." Elena's legs felt weak. She sank into the chair, her mind reeling. "You were awake this whole time?" "Not at first. The accident was real enough. The coma was real for the first 2 weeks. But then I woke up, and I found myself in a unique position. Everyone thought I was unconscious, unreachable, gone. They spoke freely around me. My business partners, my executives, even my own brother. His jaw tightened, especially my brother. David? Elena thought of Marcus's younger brother, who had been visiting regularly, helping her manage the business affairs, supporting her through the nightmare. What does David have to do with this? Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. David has everything to do with this. My dear brother, who has been so concerned about my well-being, who has been so helpful to you during this difficult time. Did you know he has been embezzling from Thornfield Industries for the past 3 years? Millions of dollars, funneled through offshore accounts and shell corporations. Quite clever, actually. I almost admired the scheme when I heard him bragging about it to his lawyer. The revelations kept coming, each one landing like a physical blow. Elena struggled to breathe, to think. That cannot be true. David loves you. He has been devastated by the accident. David has been celebrating the accident, Marcus corrected coldly. With me in a coma, he thought he could take control of the company. He thought he could finally step out from my shadow. And he would have succeeded too if I had actually been unconscious. Elena's mind raced back over the past 6 months, reviewing every interaction with David through this new, horrifying lens. The late-night phone calls he had taken in private, the business documents he insisted she sign without fully explaining them, the reassurances that he was handling everything. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why not wake up sooner? Why wait 6 months?" "Because I needed to be certain," Marcus said, moving closer to her. "I needed to gather evidence, to document every conversation, every confession. The room has been wired for months. Every word spoken here has been recorded. David is not the only one who thought my coma was an opportunity. My CFO, my head of legal, even my personal assistant. They all revealed their true colors. They all thought they could take pieces of what I built." He crouched down in front of her, bringing his eyes level with hers. For a moment, Elena saw a flicker of the man she married, a softness in his expression that reminded her of better times. "But you," he said quietly, "you were different. You came here every single day. You talked to me about your day, about the weather, about nothing and everything. You cried, you held my hand, you never asked for anything, never plotted or schemed. You just loved me." Tears streamed down Elena's face again, but this time they were tears of confusion and anger. "You let me suffer. I thought I was losing you. I have been grieving for 6 months, Marcus. 6 months of pain and loneliness. How could you do that to me?" "I needed to know," he repeated. "I needed to know if your love was real. If there was anyone in my life who actually cared about me, not just my money or my power. And now I know. You are the only one who stayed true." "That does not make this okay," Elena said, rising to her feet. Her legs felt steadier now, powered by a growing anger. "You manipulated me. You let me think you were dying. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I signed papers today, Marcus. Papers to move you to a long-term care facility because I could not watch you waste away anymore. I was saying goodbye to you." "I know. I heard every word." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Elena, please try to understand. In my world, everyone wants something from you. Everyone has an agenda. I have been used and manipulated my entire life. This was the only way to know the truth." "The truth?" Elena's voice rose, months of suppressed emotion finally breaking free. "The truth is that you don't trust anyone, not even your own wife. The truth is that you would rather play dead and spy on people than have an honest conversation. What does that say about you, Marcus? What kind of man does that?" He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "A careful one. A man who has learned that trust is a luxury I cannot afford." Then you have learned the wrong lessons, Elena said, her voice breaking. You have so much money, so much power, but you have lost sight of what actually matters. Love requires trust, Marcus. Marriage requires trust. Without it, we have nothing. The silence that fell between them was heavy with years of unspoken doubts and fears. Outside the room, Elena could hear the normal sounds of the hospital continuing on, oblivious to the drama unfolding in room 407. A nurse laughed at the station down the hall. A cart squeaked past. Life went on. I recorded your goodbye, Marcus said finally, his voice softer now. Before you came in today, I thought maybe you would be like the others. Maybe you would be relieved I was finally being moved away.
Maybe you would show your true intentions. But you did not. You told me you loved me. You cried real tears. You kissed me like it was the last time. It was supposed to be the last time, Elena said bitterly. I know. And that is why I grabbed your arm. Because I realized in that moment that I was about to lose the only real thing in my life. He took a step toward her, his hands held out in supplication. Elena, I am sorry for putting you through this, but please understand, I needed to know. And now I do. Now I know that you are the one person in this world who loves me for me, not for what I can give you. Elena looked at this man who was her husband, this stranger who wore a familiar face. She thought about the 8 years they had spent together, the life they had built. She thought about the man she had married, who had seemed so different from the calculating businessman the world knew. She wondered if that man had ever really existed, or if she had simply been seeing what she wanted to see. What happens now? She asked. You wake up, expose your brother and everyone else who betrayed you, and we just go back to normal? You think I can just forget what you have done? No, Marcus admitted. I do not expect you to forget, but I am asking you to understand, and maybe, eventually, to forgive. I need time, Elena said. I need time to process this, all of it. You have had 6 months to think and plan and watch. I have had 6 minutes to try to understand that my husband has been awake this whole time, that everything I thought I knew was a lie. Marcus nodded slowly. I will give you time. But Elena, before you leave, I need you to know something. Everything I did, as twisted as it may seem, I did it to protect what we have. The recordings I made will destroy David and the others who tried to steal from me. They will face consequences for their actions. But you are safe. You are protected. You always have been. Protected? Elena let out a bitter laugh. I do not feel protected, Marcus. I feel betrayed. You should have trusted me. You should have woken up and told me the truth instead of continuing this charade. You are right, he said quietly. I should have. But I am not good at trust, Elena. I never have been. My father taught me that everyone has a price, that loyalty is just another commodity to be bought and sold. It has taken me 42 years to find someone who proved him wrong. Please do not let my mistakes destroy what we have. Elena looked at him for a long moment, seeing both the man she loved and the stranger who had deceived her so completely. The room that had been filled with so much sorrow and hope now felt claustrophobic, suffocating. She needed air, space, time to think. I am leaving, she said, moving toward the door. I am going home, and I'm going to try to make sense of all this. Do not follow me. Do not call me. When I am ready to talk, I will reach out. But right now, I cannot even look at you. Elena, wait. No, she said firmly, turning back to face him. You waited 6 months. You can wait a little longer. She walked out of room 407 without looking back, leaving Marcus standing alone among the machines that had been his companions and co-conspirators. As she made her way down the corridor, past the nurses who had come to know her so well, past the reception desk and out through those automatic doors, Elena felt like she was leaving behind more than just the hospital. She was leaving behind the woman she had been, the marriage she had thought she had, the life she had believed was real. The afternoon sun was bright and warm on her face, a stark contrast to the cold fluorescent lights of the hospital. Elena stood in the parking lot, fishing her keys from her purse with shaking hands. Her mind was spinning with questions, with doubts, with anger and confusion, and a love that refused to die despite everything. What would she do now? Could she forgive Marcus for what he had done? Did she even want to? And what did it say about her that part of her, a small but persistent part, understood why he had done it? In a world where everyone wanted something from you, where your wealth and power made you a target, how do you know who to trust? But then again, if you couldn't trust your own wife, if love required such elaborate tests and deceptions, then what was the point of it all? Elena got into her car and sat there for a long time, her hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. She thought about the goodbye kiss she had given Marcus, the one she had meant to be their last. She thought about how his hand had gripped her wrist, refusing to let her go. She thought about the stranger in the hospital bed who was also her husband, the man who had watched her grieve him while he lay awake and listening. Eventually, she started the car and drove home. The house she shared with Marcus felt different now, full of shadows and secrets. Every room held memories that now seemed tainted by doubt. Had any of it been real? Had Marcus ever truly let his guard down with her? Or had she just been another test, another person to prove herself to? The days that followed were strange and surreal. Marcus called repeatedly, but Elena let every call go to voicemail. He sent messages that she read, but did not answer. The news broke about his miraculous recovery, and the media frenzy was immediate. Billionaire businessman Marcus Thornfield wakes from 6-month coma. Medical miracle. Business empire saved. But the bigger story came a week later when Marcus held a press conference. Elena watched from home as her husband, looking strong and healthy and completely himself, announced that he would be pressing charges against his brother David Thornfield and several high-ranking executives at Thornfield Industries for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. He presented evidence, recordings, documents. The scandal rocked the business world. David was arrested, the executives were fired and faced criminal charges. Marcus was hailed as a brilliant strategist who had turned his own tragedy into an opportunity to root out corruption in his company. Some called him a genius, others called him ruthless. Elena called him a stranger. 2 weeks after waking up, Marcus showed up at the house. Elena had been expecting it, had been preparing herself for this confrontation. She opened the door and looked at him, really looked at him, searching for the man she had married in the face of this person who had deceived her so completely.
"Can I come in?" he asked. Elena stepped aside, letting him enter. They sat in the living room, the same room where they had celebrated anniversaries and hosted friends and made plans for a future that now seemed uncertain. "How are you?" Marcus asked, and Elena almost laughed at the absurdity of the question. "How do you think I am?" she countered. "My husband woke up from a coma only to reveal that he has been awake for months, lying to everyone, including me. The person I trusted most in the world turned out to be someone I do not even know. How should I be?" "Angry," Marcus said. "You should be angry. You have every right to be." "I am angry," Elena confirmed. "But I am also sad and confused and hurt. You put me through hell, Marcus. You let me think I was losing you. Do you have any idea what that does to a person?" "I do now," he said quietly. "Lying there, listening to you cry, hearing the pain in your voice every day. It was torture, Elena.
But I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting us. You were protecting yourself, Elena corrected. You were so busy looking for betrayal that you could not see the love that was right in front of you. You turned our marriage into a test, and that is not what love is supposed to be. Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped together. He looked older now, worn down in a way that had nothing to do with the accident. You are right. I know you are right. I have spent my whole life building walls to protect myself, and I built them so high that I could not see out anymore. All I could see were threats and schemes and people who wanted to use me. I never wanted to use you, Elena said, her voice breaking. I just wanted to love you. Was that not enough? It was more than enough, Marcus said, looking up at her with eyes that finally showed vulnerability. It was everything, and I almost threw it away because I was too broken to recognize it. They sat in silence for a while, the weight of 6 months and 8 years pressing down on them both. Finally, Elena spoke. I do not know if I can do this anymore, Marcus. I do not know if I can be married to someone who needs to test my love, who cannot just trust that what we have is real. That is no way to live. I know, he said, and I wouldn't blame you if you walked away, but I'm asking you not to. I'm asking you to give me a chance to be better, to be the man you deserve, the man I thought I could never be because I was too afraid of being hurt. And how do I know this is not just another manipulation? How do I know you are not just saying what I want to hear to keep me around? Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device, no bigger than a phone. He held it out to her. This is the master copy of all the recordings I made. Everything is on here. Months of conversations, confessions, secrets. It's worth millions in terms of the information it contains. It could destroy lives, ruin careers, send people to prison. Elena took the device, feeling its weight in her palm. I'm giving it to you, Marcus said. Do with it whatever you want. Keep it, destroy it, use it against me if you need to. It's yours. No copies, no backups. I'm putting my trust in you, Elena, completely and totally. Because you were right. Love requires trust, and I have not been showing you that. So I'm showing you now. Everything I have, everything I have done, I'm putting it in your hands. Elena looked down at the device, then back up at Marcus. She saw the fear in his eyes, the genuine terror of someone who had just given away all his power and control. For a man like Marcus, this was the ultimate act of vulnerability. This doesn't fix everything, she said softly. It doesn't erase the last 6 months, or the lies, or the pain. I know. But it's a start, she continued, closing her fingers around the device. It's the first real thing you have given me since you woke up. Not explanations or justifications or apologies. Just trust. Does that mean you'll give me another chance? Marcus asked, hope and fear warring in his expression. I thought about the man she had married, the life they had built together, the love that had survived 6 months of grief and deception. She thought about the kiss she had given him in the hospital, meant as a goodbye, but that had somehow become a beginning. She thought about second chances and trust and forgiveness and all the messy, complicated things that made up a real marriage. I do not know yet, she said honestly. I need time. Real time, not time while you are pretending to be in a coma. Time to figure out if we can build something real together, something based on actual trust instead of tests and surveillance and fear. "I will give you all the time you need," Marcus said. "Days, weeks, months, whatever it takes. And you need to do something for me," Elena added. "You need to go to therapy. Not couples therapy, at least not yet. You need to work on yourself, on understanding why you needed to turn your life into an espionage operation. Because, Marcus, that's not normal. That's not healthy. And if we're going to have any chance at all, you need to deal with that." Marcus nodded slowly. "I will. I promise you, I will." Elena stood up, and Marcus did the same. They faced each other across the living room, two people who had loved each other for 8 years, but were somehow meeting for the first time. "Thank you," Marcus said, "for not giving up on me immediately, for giving me any chance at all." "I'm not doing it for you," Elena replied. "I'm doing it for us, for the marriage I thought we had, and maybe, if we're lucky and we work hard, can actually have someday. But Marcus, if you ever lie to me again, if you ever manipulate me or test me or put me through anything like the last 6 months, I'm gone. No second chances, no explanations, just gone. Do you understand?" "I understand. And I promise you, Elena, I will spend the rest of my life proving that you can trust me, that I can trust myself enough to trust you." Marcus left that night, and Elena was alone in the house with her thoughts and the device that held so many secrets. She thought about deleting everything on it, wiping it clean as a symbolic fresh start. But instead, she put it in a safe, locked it away. Because trust was earned, not given, and Marcus still had a lot to prove. The months that followed were not easy. Marcus started therapy, diving deep into the childhood traumas and trust issues that had shaped him into the man who could watch his wife grieve while playing dead. Elena went to her own therapist, working through the betrayal and confusion and the complicated love she still felt for a man who had hurt her so deeply. They talked, really talked, in ways they never had before. Marcus told her about growing up with a father who saw people as pawns, who taught him that vulnerability was weakness and trust was foolish. Elena shared her own fears, her own doubts about whether she had ever really known the man she married or just the mask he wore for her. Slowly, carefully, they began to build something new. Not a return to what they had been, but a cautious step toward what they might become. It was messy and difficult, and sometimes it felt impossible. But it was real, in a way their relationship had never quite been before. One evening, 6 months after Marcus woke up, they sat together on the couch, watching the sun set through their living room window. It was a quiet moment, comfortable in a way that used to come naturally, but now felt like an achievement. "Do you regret it?" Elena asked suddenly. "Waking up when you did? Grabbing my arm instead of letting me leave?" Marcus considered the question seriously. "I regret the pain I caused you. I regret that I needed to go through such an elaborate deception to learn what should have been obvious. But do I regret stopping you from leaving? No. Because as terrible as my methods were, they led us here. And here, with you, with honesty between us for maybe the first time ever, this is where I want to be." Elena leaned her head against his shoulder, and Marcus wrapped his arm around her.
It was a small gesture, simple and sweet, but it felt like a promise. A promise to do better, to be better, to build a marriage on truth instead of tests. "I love you," Marcus whispered into her hair. "The real you, Not the fantasy I constructed or the angel I put on a pedestal. The flesh and blood woman who has every reason to hate me, but is choosing to give me another chance. I love you too, Elena replied. But I am still angry, and I am still hurt, and I am not sure if I will ever fully get over what you did. That is fair, Marcus said. I will spend the rest of our lives making it up to you, however long it takes. They sat there as darkness fell, two broken people trying to heal each other and themselves. The road ahead was uncertain, full of challenges and setbacks, and the hard work of rebuilding trust. But they were facing it together, honestly and openly, and for now, that was enough. The device with all the recordings remained locked in the safe, a reminder of past mistakes and the power of secrets. Elena never used it, never even looked at it again. Eventually, on their 10th wedding anniversary, she and Marcus destroyed it together, watching the files delete one by one, letting go of the past to make room for the future. Some scars never fully healed. Some betrayals left permanent marks. But love, real love, built on truth and trust and the willingness to be vulnerable, could survive almost anything. Even 6 months of lies. Even the ultimate betrayal of trust. Marcus never stopped proving himself to Elena. He became more open, more honest, more willing to share his fears and doubts instead of hiding behind walls of control and manipulation. And Elena learned to see her husband clearly, not through the rose-colored glasses of early love or the dark lens of betrayal, but as he truly was, flawed, broken in places, but trying every day to be better. Their story did not have a fairy tale ending, because real life rarely does. But it had something more valuable, a real ending, built on genuine trust and hard-won forgiveness. And in the end, that was more than enough. So, here is the question that should burn in your mind. If you were in Elena's position, could you forgive someone who tested your love by faking their coma? Could you rebuild trust with a person who watched you suffer while pretending to be unconscious? What would you have done differently? Would you have stayed and fought for the marriage? Or would you have walked away the moment Marcus grabbed your arm? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know where you stand on this impossible situation. And if this story made you think, made you feel something deep in your chest, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button for Beyond Yesterday. Because every day we bring you stories like this. Stories that challenge your perspective on love, trust, betrayal, and the complicated nature of human relationships. Subscribe to Beyond Yesterday and let us explore these emotional journeys together. See you in the next story.